What's up, guys? My name is Troy, but I also go by Tangle of Boots, and I am so glad that I am able to record right now. I've had a load of technical difficulties. I've tried to make this video a couple of times now, but I think I finally have it sorted. But just in case that I don't, I'm going to kind of go through this video really quickly, so I apologize about that in advance. Anyways, yeah, I'm really sorry that the video is late, but what can you do? Here I am now. So this is our second week of OWL. If you haven't seen our first week battle, make sure you go back and watch that. I'll probably put a link in the description. If you have, though, cool, you're caught up, and we're ready to go for week 2. So this week we're battling the One, or the One guy. Super cool dude. I've battled him once before. I ended up winning that battle, but it was kind of narrow. Going into this battle, I was excited to try and keep my record straight against him. And he had a pretty threatening team, at least on paper to me. I'm going to be putting it on screen right about now for you to look at. Really quick, just to run down his team of things I was really scared of, just so you can understand my thought process for team building. That Zygarde 50%, super scary to my team. My team definitely doesn't appreciate 1,000 arrows. Even though my electric type in Rotom has Levitate and Grass type, it still doesn't matter. You know, a really strong 1,000 arrows, just my team really kind of falls apart against it. So I was definitely scared of that Zygarde for sure. The Azumarill is definitely scary to my team with that Belly Drum, especially because you can see Belly Drum. Definitely a threat for sure. You know, anything that can just get to +6. Azumarill is always a threat normally. The Mega Sableye is just so goddamn bulky. I don't know, I can definitely see myself running into problems against it. It can be pretty hard for me to break. Beyond that, I mean, he has 2 different flying types in Crobat and Tornadus. I expect him to bring Crobat over Tornadus simply because its poison typing allows it to wall Mimikyu better. He definitely should bring a flying type because my team has a terrible matchup against flying types in general. And then, you know, Galvantula and Brawlzong I'm kind of expecting just for... Galvantula is the speed in the webs, and Brawlzong just because I think he'll need a Stealth Rocker. So anyways, everything else I can kind of talk about a little bit, but I'm just going to kind of skip it because everything else that he could bring, it's like, if he brings it, oh well, I think I can handle it. So moving forward, let me talk about my team a little bit. So starting off, we've got Scribbles and MIMIKYU. Back again this time, not to just be death fodder, so Halucha. He's actually going on the offensive with that Swords Dance. So the cool thing about MIMIKYU is that it outspeeds Zygarde 50% by 1 point, and I really like that. You know, max speed actually helps me with a lot more too. It allows me to outspeed Azumarill. Even if he wants to go for an Aqua Jet, I have my Shadow Sneak, so I'll be able to out-prioritize that Azumarill. I can beat back that Mega Sableye, that's another big one. But other than that, I mean, I outspeed some of his base 70s, like the Breloom, the Volcanion. I need to give a special shout out to Luke, he helped me with this Mimikyu. Originally, over the Shadow Claw, I had Drain Punch, and that was mainly just so I could do damage to the Chansey and pretty much get all my health back. And I originally had Expert Belt instead of Lumberry. But basically, through talking it out with him, I kind of realized that Play Rough is just better for beating Chansey, mainly because I can get extra Swords Dances off on it with my Lumberry. I don't have to be afraid of him statusing me with Thunder Wave or Toxic, which will allow me to go for an extra Play Rough or an extra Swords Dance, depending on the situation. Lumberry can also come in clutch in all sorts of other ways, depending on, you know, if he runs status on all sorts of different Pokemon, such as the Crobat, the Breloom, the Mega Sableye, even though I should be able to beat Mega Sableye, just in case. But yeah, other than that, Mimikyu's kind of here. You know, it's the first thing I put on the team. I really saw its potential against him in this game, and so I was just like, yup, Mimikyu's coming this week. Going beyond that, I was trying to think of things that could help Mimikyu win this game, and that's where I came up with Rotom Mow helps in a couple key matchups specifically. First of all, I definitely need to bring my electric type to a matchup where I'm facing off against 2 flying types, for sure. I can Volt Switch on pretty much anything besides that Zygarde, but if the Zygarde wants to come in, I have the Hidden Power Ice, which will come in handy. Leaf Storm shreds apart that Azumarill, who I check really nicely. I pretty much counter Azumarill with this Rotom. I outspeed it if he's like Jolly Max speed. So that's really cool because basically if he needs to go for an Ice Punch, he has to take a Leaf Storm. So that's really clutch. I can also take 1,000 arrows if I really need to because of my HP investment and that last little bit in defense. So I will be able to Hidden Power Ice the Zygarde, which is the only thing that's blocking me from just Volt Switching on his entire team. Pain Split is just to keep Rotom healthy since I am going with a max HP set this week. And if I can get it off on that Chansey, I'll actually get a huge amount of health back. It's a really underrated way to beat Chansey or Blissey, or just honestly anything with a really high HP stat. Obviously, nothing comes close to those two, but still, I think it's a very good method of keeping Rotom healthy. And if he brings that Chansey, I can punish its passiveness and get that pain split off. If he Toxics me or whatever, it's no big deal. Moving right along, I realized that I wanted to be able to bring Garchomp this week, so that's our next up. And I also wanted to be able to get Rocks up, and that's what I saw Garchomp doing in this game. Miltank is nice for Rocks, but I saw it having a hard time against certain Pokemon, depending on whether he brought them or not. Specifically the Mega Sableye, obviously with the Magic Bounce and whatnot. And it doesn't really have a good time against Breloom at all, obviously. Not that I think he'll really bring it, but it could have been a bad situation. Anyways, we've got Stealth Rock, Dragon Claw, Earthquake, and Crunch. This is just a really basic offensive set. The Crunch is to hit that Bronzong or that Claydol, but mainly the Bronzong, because I know he'll have Levitate on both, and they'll both take damage on that Crunch. So that's really good for predictions. The Stealth Rock is obviously to whittle down that Tornadus and Crobat. Even though the Crobat might be on defog duty, I really like that I can be able to, hurt his team passively. And also that Galvantula. I want to be able to break a Focus Sash on that thing, just in case. If he is in a situation where he leads that Galvantula, I'll actually be able to take a Hidden Power Ice so long as he's not Choice Specs, and I'll be able to get up my own Stealth Rocks against him. So I really like that about this team in particular. If he decides to go for Sticky Webs and I go for Stealth Rocks, that's okay, because I do have Defog in Scizor, who is my next Pokemon here. So yeah, he'll be able to defog any webs or any opposing rocks if they become an issue. For the most part, though, Garchomp actually doesn't struggle too much against Galvantula, even if it does that, even if it does have that Hidden Power Ice. Whereas Scizor will be able to complete that U-turn core along with that Rotom, like how it did in Week 1, and just be able to do, typical Scizor stuff. It's the same EV spread as last week. Just basic run-of-the-mill Scizor stuff, but it works, man. Moving along, we actually have another set that I really, really like this week, which is Mega Absol, making its debut on the team. So I've got a mixed set here, and basically it kind of hits everything. It really does. That knockoff is my primary stab, and, since I outspeed pretty much everything on his team, besides the Crobat, it's going to hurt something every single time I come in. Like, just going through his team, like Zygarde, Ice Beam, Azumarill, Thunderbolt, Mega Sableye, Play Rough. Crobat gets hit by Bolt Beam, Galvantula, I can just knock that thing off for hella damage. Bronzong, same story. I mean, like, I can just go on and on. Even the fact that I can just knock off that Chansey's Eviolite, it really helps in this game. So, I mean, yeah, it's a really frail Pokemon, but it just gives me some options. It can be a late game cleaner if I really need to. It can just pick off weakened Pokemon. One important thing I wanted to point out is that if he does bring that Mega Sableye, I do have Justified, which gives me a switch in to, knock off or Dark Pulse. This thing will give me a great switch into that, and also I'll be able to get my Mega Evolution off after that, and I'll have the Magic Bounce so that he won't be able to burn me. So I'll actually be bringing my Magic Bounce user against his Magic Bounce user. And last but not least, we have another debut on the team this week. We've got Vaporeon. This is another set that Luke helped me out with. Basically, this speed allows me to outspeed the Adamant, Azumarill, and I will be able to haze it if it belly drums. Jolly, I won't be able to get that off, but if he's Adamant and he already has a belly drum off, I'll be able to come in and haze, which will be really helpful. This also prevents Vaporeon from being setup bait against the Zygarde if he decides to set up with that. If he decides to bring some type of nasty plot Crobat or bulk up Tornadus, you can also haze on those things too if they try to use Vaporeon as setup bait. My HP isn't super high to pass off big wishes, but I should be able to wish up certain things that can't heal themselves, such as the Absol, the Garchomp, the Rotom, and the Scizor will be able to heal themselves. They can fend for themselves. Other than that, the Vaporeon's another way for me to handle Azumarill, just in case if I lose Rotom. It's just an overall good bring this week, I think. I was struggling coming up with the last Pokemon, and Luke convinced me on Vaporeon for this set. So I'm glad that he did. And that basically covers the team. Sorry, this was just a rush of a team builder, but like I said, I'm kind of just making sure that my technology doesn't fail on me again. So that's it for this team builder, and now we're gonna go jump over to the battle and see what happened. So to start things off here, I am going to lead my Garchomp, and he is going to lead his Bronzong. Now, I think we're just going to trade rocks here. At least that's what I'm thinking. But he reveals the Hidden Power Ice, and it gets a huge crit off on me. So, not a great start to turn 1. I'm just going to go into Scizor to potentially take a Toxic or another Hidden Power Ice, as he's just going to get up his Stealth Rocks this time now. I don't want to defog yet, though, because I want to chip down that Galvantula and get rid of a potential Sash. So I just kind of go into Vaporeon. I actually expected him to switch out, but he didn't. This turn, I'm just going to protect and scout for a Toxic, as he's going to bring in his Breloom. So I obviously don't want to stay in on this thing. I'm going to go into my Rotom-Mow to take either a Spore or a physical hit. It'll also help if he Swords Dances, because I have the Hidden Power Ice. I'll be able to outspeed it and hurt it, but he just goes for the Spore. I was going to Volt Switch this turn, but I decided to Hidden Power Ice, because I thought that either the Claydol or the Zygarde would come in. Unfortunately, Bronzong comes in, which makes sense, you know, it's just trying to wall a hit. So I reveal my Hidden Power Ice early, unfortunately. But now I'm just going to be able to Volt Switch, because I don't think he would come in after I revealed Hidden Power Ice. He's going to let me get some insane chip damage off on this Galvantula, who gets weakened by those rocks, and takes another 21% from that Volt Switch, and I get to come into my Mega Absol, who is a lot faster. And he knows this. He can't stay in with this Galvantula, so he definitely has to switch out into something. But I'm just going to go for Knockoff either way, because since he didn't bring that Mega Sableye, I'm going to be able to get some nice chip damage off on something. He's going to go into his Azumarill, who I was immensely scared of, but in a weird twist of fate, I'm going to knock this thing off, and I'm going to see Leftovers was on this Azumarill. And this tells me that this might be a Sap Sipper Azumarill. At least that's what's going through my head right now. Going into this battle, I was immensely afraid of a Belly Drum Azumarill or a Choice Band Azumarill. And so I expected to see, you know, nothing knocked off in the event that he had Normalium Z for Z Belly Drum. I expected to see maybe Citrus Berry, or I expected to see a Choice Band. But, you know, seeing the Leftovers makes me think this thing might not even be huge power. This thing could be Sap Sipper. And so if that's the case, I don't want to lose to this thing. I mean, even if he's huge power, I don't want to stay in with Mega Absol, obviously, because, you know, I don't want to take a player off. So instead of going into Rotom-Mow, who I would normally bring in on an Azumarill, I'm going to bring in Vaporeon. And he does reveal to me, in fact, with this Whirlpool right here that I'm able to absorb, with Water Absorb, that he is, in fact, a Perish-trapping Sap Sipper Azumarill. I got a nice Scald Burn off of it. It doesn't do much in terms of damage, but it does create an interesting situation for me here. It's not going to have a high damage output, again, because it doesn't have huge power to begin with, but now that it's burned on top of it, this thing is crippled. So I'm going to be able to wish up my Garchomp here, who took a lot of damage in turn 1. And also, you know, let me escape this Perish Song. I don't know why he went for it anyways, even though he didn't actually trap me. He goes for it again just to see if I'll switch out, but I definitely don't. Why would I? But I will here to pass this Wish off, because even if he does trap in my Garchomp, there's nothing he can do against it. Because as you'll see, he clicks Knockoff right here. It does 4%, and he takes 12% from the Rough Skin. Since I don't have max HP Vaporeon, that doesn't heal me up a ton, but it definitely helps. And I'm actually going to be able to throw off a Crunch here, predicting him to either go into this Claydol or that Bronzong. He definitely tried to read me there and get the, you know, the Levitate Mon in on the Earthquake, but it didn't work out. I went for Crunch. Now, he's going to get me back, though, because for whatever ungodly reason, and I guess I'll give him props for it, because I definitely didn't expect it, so if he wanted to catch me off guard, he definitely succeeded. This clay doll is Choice Scarf. I couldn't figure out why it came in. I couldn't figure out why he even brought it this week. But it turns out it is Choice Scarf, and he's going to be able to outspeed and draw First Blood and kill my Garchomp right after I wished it up. I was so upset about that. But I realize it's time. It's Mimikyu time. He's Scarf locked into the Ice Beam. He has to be in order to outspeed a Garchomp. And so this gives me prime opportunity to set up a Swords Dance. So I'm immediately just going to Swords Dance in this thing's face as he tries to bring in a Azumarill. This isn't going to help him, though. Not at all. I'm just going to be able to Shadow Sneak this thing dead in case he was just trying to, Aqua Jet to break my Disguise. He won't be able to. The Azumarill's down. Now he's going to bring in Breloom, and this creates an interesting scenario. I have Lumberry, which will allow me to stay in on a potential Spore. But I'm looking at his team lineup, and I'm realizing I can just win this game outright with Mimikyu. Like, already. Turn 16, I have the game pretty much sealed. While doing damage calcs, I realized that if he's just an offensive Breloom, Shadow Claw has a chance to kill. And since I outspeed him, I feel much safer with that than, missing a Play Rough. I should have just clicked Play Rough, but I just clicked Shadow Claw instead just because I thought I'd be able to kill it, but I don't. Luckily, it doesn't really matter though, because the Lumberry is going to wake me up, and I'm just going to be able to Shadow Claw this again. I clicked Shadow Claw just in case he tried to switch out. Maybe in a Bronzong, expecting a Play Rough. But here I will just click Play Rough. Against this thing, I have to. And we're just going to knock out Zygarde. And man, oh man, Mimikyu is just going to actually, spoilers guys, sweep this team. This is just a sweep with Mimikyu. Shadow Sneak's going to kill this thing, and then Shadow Claw and Shadow Sneak are going to be able to kill this Clay Doll and this Bronzong. So this is actually a super quick battle for a super quick video here. And man, it just feels so good to do Mimikyu justice. I'm so glad I was able to draft this thing. I'm glad I was able to turn around Mimikyu's performance from week 1, where I kind of just let it die, and that's pretty much what I brought it to do. Here I proved that Mimikyu can do some massive damage, and I sweeped an entire team with it. I mean, just like, it happened so fast. Like, I'm not trying to brag here or anything, but like, it just feels so good to just like tear through a team like this. Like, I know I should have clicked Play Rough right there. I know that. But I was just trying, to not lose this game when I could easily win it from here. And I knew I could win it too. I don't know. I was playing like overly cautious to the point where I did something stupid. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. I was able to just kind of Mimikyu my way to victory here. And that's going to be a GG to the one guy. He put up a pretty good fight. I mean, there's not much you could have done about the Mimikyu, but I mean, he brought some pretty cool sets to the battle. So I got to give him props for that. Thank you guys for tuning in. It was a lot of fun. And we are now 2-0 plus 9. Just giving you some insight into the rest of my team. Blake was able to win his match this week, meaning that our team overall is 1-1. And so that feels really good. Winning big like this and having the team win, so now that, we're out of the negative, we're just neutral 1-1 now, feels really good. Definitely proud of my team for sure. Scout too, even though she lost, she's been doing her best. And that's all I can really ask for as a team captain. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check out last week if you didn't. Make sure to subscribe if you guys want to see future weeks. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.